Magnesium is crucial for over 300 processes in your body, from energy production and muscle recovery to sleep quality and stress response. Yet most Americans don't get enough. In fact, in a peer-reviewed clinical trial published in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition, more than 75% of participants showed suboptimal magnesium levels before the study even began. Those who took Jigsaw Mag SRT, a time-release magnesium malate tablet, saw magnesium rise 30% over 90 days, and deficiency symptoms dropped by 63%. Remarkable results backed by real science. And for sleep and recovery, Jigsaw Mag Soothes delivers. In a 4-week clinical trial tracked with Oura Ring data, participants saw a 17% improvement in sleep quality, felt 34% less stressed, and rated their satisfaction 85 out of 100. 82% said they'd buy it again. 2 supplements, 2 clinical trials, 1 company that does the research. Jigsaw Health. Mag SRT for daily magnesium replenishment. Mag Soothes for calm, restorative sleep. To order, go to jigsawhealth.com. That's jigsawhealth.com. Use coupon code Hoffman15 for 15% off your order. That's jigsawhealth.com, code Hoffman15. Welcome to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman, today with Leyla Mutin, because it is our weekly Q&A with Leyla, and that means you are part of the program. We depend on you to send us questions, and we have been richly endowed with great questions this week. Thank you all for participating. Folks, you send questions to questions@drhoffman.net. I've got a great bank of questions, and that's going to stimulate some great discussions. So I'm very much looking forward to our colloquy today. How are you doing, Leyla?
Okay, Dr. Hoffman, how are you?
Just as a reminder, Leyla is a registered dietitian and also has an advanced master's degree in the field of nutrition. She is, what's it called, an LDN. She's licensed to practice nutrition.
In New York State, it's CDN.
CDN.
Certified. Yeah,
okay,
because
CDN.
we don't have licensure in New York.
So
if I moved to a different state, like Tennessee, I'd be an LDN.
So it'd be alphabet soup.
Yeah.
And she's a candidate for the Nobel Prize in Molecular Biology as well. So unbeknownst to you, I just nominated you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So here we be. And all right, so we have a lot of questions today.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's in the news this week? Anything that we need to cover? There have been some new vaccine recommendations that are creating a lot of controversy. Yeah, a controversy about vaccine recommendations. And, the arguments pro and con is that, and this is vociferously argued by many mainstream pediatricians and by the Pediatricians Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, is that splitting up the vaccine requirements, in other words, having people take different parts of the MMR vaccine on different days, makes it more expensive, more inconvenient, less people will be vaccinated. It's human nature to skip appointments and to reduce cost. But I got to say that, I guess if you want, I don't think it prevents people from getting the multi-booster, super duper whopper combination vaccine for their kids all at one visit. But it does open a pathway for some people to break it up on the theory that, maybe, this is called kind of a little bit science in evolution. We don't exactly know.
You see what works and you see what's questionable, and then you change it.
We do know that for some kids, at least, that getting multiple challenges to their immune system all at once can sometimes push them over the edge. We are seeing more autoimmune diseases. We're seeing neurological diseases in kids. Are vaccines the proximate cause, or, could it be just in a small subset of kids? We don't know. I am not totally against it. As a physician, it seems to make sense. And, I know many parents who are willing to undergo the additional trouble and expense, potentially with an additional copay, of going to the doctor more often to get that sequence of necessary vaccinations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I find it disturbing too, as I'm sure many do out there, that the rates of autism in boys is higher than in girls.
Yeah.
Something about the blood-brain barrier.
Right.
But it's interesting that I believe later in life, the prevalence of autoimmunity is higher in women than it is in men, which is goes to show you about the difference in biology.
Right.
So it's fascinating always to me.
I don't know. It's something to do with the male brain, perhaps. I mean, men tend to be, I don't know, men tend to be a little more on the spectrum than women. Men are more, less, shall we say, socially attuned than women almost inherently. And that is a feature of autism, is loss of the social dimension of emotion and communication.
Yeah.
So, So who knows? Who knows what's going on there? All right. So those are some of those things that, have been in the news, can fall out from Fauci. I wrote an article about it. And, the opinions are really divided. Some people think it's terrible that we're persecuting Fauci, that, he was heroic. Other people think that he should be in jail or worse. And there are very few moderate opinions about that.
Honestly,
the opinions are pretty bifurcated about that, and so he's like a real flashpoint in terms of opinion. So I didn't weigh in on, what I think should happen to Fauci, because there are plenty of people who were weighing in on that. But what I did weigh in on was the mistakes that we obviously made during COVID that are now coming to light. And, I wish that we, I think that it's kind of a shame that for legal reasons, Fauci felt he had to clam up, because it really would be interesting to kind of do a post-mortem on our COVID efforts. It's like, look, this is something that we do in medicine, is there is something called M&M review. And it doesn't mean that, we sit around at the conference table and pass around the M&Ms. I get a blue one. Look, I like the green ones. No, it's morbidity and mortality review. Okay. And that means if we have a case, and even if a case that goes sour, something bad happens, or even somebody dies, we sit and we review it in a non-punitive way.
Yes.
It's not like we're going to, throw somebody out, or, it's like.
And deliberately, dispassionately.
Yes.
Just the data.
Yeah. And just like, where could we have, why didn't we see this earlier? What could we have done more proactively? Did we miss a sign? Should we have done certain testing? Did we do the wrong procedure? This is kind of routine in medicine. And I wish that congressional hearing, rather than, I think it was dramatic as a partisan exchange. We had eloquent, these are like the most eloquent people, like people who end up being, Congress people. They're very eloquent. So many of them are attorneys, so they know how to cross-examine a witness. Yeah. And we had, in terms of drama, great, right?
Yeah.
And depending on who you're rooting for. But it did not shed a lot of light on, the thought process and how things went wrong. There's no question things went wrong. So let's do a postmortem. Let's do a reasonable postmortem. But anyway, that's what the article's about. Check it out in our newsletter if you haven't yet subscribed. Coming down the pike, a lot of big stir this week about an article that says that maybe we need less protein. The big buzz has been like, get more protein, get more. And all of a sudden, like, scientists and academics and the media have touted the possibility that maybe we don't need all that protein. So I weigh in on that in an article in the newsletter.
Yes. Forward to that. Absolutely. Okay. Our first question, Dr. Hoffman, this is from Dennis. Dennis says, my urologist has given me grief for a vitamin D level of 81. She wants me to reduce my vitamin D dose by half. I currently take 6,000 international units a day. I have had a 1+ reading of protein in my urine since 2024, which vaguely corresponds with when my vitamin D reached its peak. An ultrasound of my kidneys is normal. Could it be the level of vitamin D is the cause?
Right. Okay. So let's look at this several different ways. One is, what's the optimal level of vitamin D? Well, we know that vitamin D deficiency is said to be less than 20. That's really terrible advice because there's a difference between outright deficiency and
Yes.
insufficiency. And we in integrative health believe that insufficiency may begin as low as 30 or 40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we like to see, 40, 50, 60, that's good. 70, even if you've got a medical condition, say you have cancer, and in men, prostate cancer is certainly an issue. Among the vitamins that seems to be most protective against prostate cancer is vitamin D. So I check my vitamin D from time to time. Frequently, my vitamin D range is 70, 80. No biggie. Where we are concerned is when it's above 100 or 120, then we tell patients to cut back. I've actually never seen anyone get kidney stones with a vitamin D that's under 100 or I've seen some people with vitamin D that's like 200 and something. They still haven't gotten kidney stones or kidney damage. So the concern is, vitamin D may cause kidney damage. Okay, well, particularly it causes kidney stones. It doesn't necessarily cause kidney failure. Could that, trace of protein in the urine be a sign that there's a problem with the kidneys? Well, ultrasound is a way of looking at the structure of the kidneys. Creatinine is a way of looking at the function of the kidneys along with BUN. And sometimes looking for traces of protein suggests a breakdown in the, shall we say, the filtering apparatus of the kidneys where there's a leakage of protein. A 1+ protein doesn't indicate very much at all. 3, 4+ protein, and then we can actually measure the amount of protein, grams of protein in a 24-hour urine. That indicates that there's leaky kidneys, that the kidneys are damaged and that they're leaking protein from the body. It can become such a profound problem that people's albumin drops. And when people's albumin drops, they get general swelling of the body. They can get to start facial swelling, bags under their eyes, swelling in their extremities, especially around the ankles, with low albumin. They're losing their protein in the blood. 1+, that doesn't worry me. That really doesn't worry me. That's not and I wouldn't read tea leaves about, whether the vitamin D is 80 or 60 and it's having an impact on the protein. I gently disagree with the urologist. I mean, if there's a trend, it goes 80, 90, 110. If you're heading that direction, maybe cut back a little bit. That's a pretty good level. I wouldn't worry about, that you're not getting enough, and you might ease up, drop it. Maybe skip on Sundays or something like that, and then it'll drop back down into a little more the comfort zone. I don't see a big downside, and I certainly don't think your kidneys are going to pot.
Yeah, I mean, I would think 81 is a terrific level, and to kind of keep it there. Be careful not to go much higher. But we don't. I don't like to see it below 55 ever in anybody.
Okay.
And as with vitamin D, you also want to make sure you're taking some vitamin D.
Right.
So.
And I just remember doctors, and I was trained this way, is that vitamin D was highly toxic, we thought. And that, these levels of people taking 6,000 or, 8,000 or, 50,000 at a time once a week were thought to be, just crazy levels. But we now know that those can be taken safely over time.
Yeah.
I mean, you can overdose on vitamin D since it's a fat-soluble vitamin, as with all fat-soluble vitamins, particularly vitamin A and vitamin D. You can overdose on the ones that stick around in your body. Water-soluble vitamins to a lesser extent because they pass out of the body more rapidly.
Yeah.
So the teaching was be careful.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Dennis, there you go. Good health to you. Continued good health to Dennis. All right. Let's see. Dr. Hoffman, I think it may be a good time to hear from one of our sponsors.
Indeed. Okay. So the important part of the program is messaging from our sponsors about important products. We actually have some questions about some of the products that we recommend among the questions today. So it's clear that some of our messaging about products in the, quote, commercials kind of interlaces with some of people's concerns when they shop for supplements. But so let's hear this message.
Kids don't just bring home homework, they bring home germs. And those germs don't just stay with them, they spread to the whole household. That's why Clear Nasal Spray was created by a practicing physician to give parents and grandparents peace of mind. You may not think about it, but your nose is filtering out a semi-truck full of air every single day. Clear isn't just another spray. It creates an additional layer of protection in your nose that blocks bacteria and viruses before they can even take hold. Yes, even that virus. Supporting your body's defenses right where germs first try to enter. Clear is a hygiene product recommended for daily use, drug-free, non-drowsy, and safe for all ages. Just a quick spray in the morning and evening helps you cleanse your nose. Don't just hope for protection, create it. Get Clear Nasal Spray, your daily defense. Clear Nasal Spray is available at retailers nationwide and online. Check out Xlear.com for our special offers. That's Xlear.com.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting our sponsors. They are what make intelligent medicine a continuing free service for you. And I can't be more happy with our current roster of sponsors. And we're looking forward to bringing aboard a couple more sponsors of some really high-quality products and services.
Terrific. Terrific. We've got an email here from Charlie. Charlie says, you answered my question last week on your show about how to naturally treat long COVID and detox the spike protein. You suggested nattokinase. Can you suggest a product from your store?
Oh, an nattokinase product from the store?
Yeah.
Well, the Protocol for Life product is one that we talked about recently with Neil Levin,
Yes.
who, by the way, is in town this week. I'm going to have dinner with him at a Greek restaurant in a couple of days.
Say hello.
I will.
Yeah.
I always have fun because we have great conversations because, we're like talking
It's
nutrition.
terrific.
We love to talk nutrition while eating nutritious food at nice restaurants. So many pleasant dinners with him. So Protocol for Life Balance makes a nattokinase product that I think is good. And, look, I got to say, just come back to this thing of like detoxing the spike protein. First of all, I'm not entirely sure that this is a universal problem for everyone who's had COVID or everyone who's taken the vaccine. I think that certain commercial enterprises are kind of taking advantage of the fact that some people have had long COVID or have had vaccine reactions to the COVID shot and are selling a product which purports to reverse the consequences of taking the shot. In other words, cleaning up this eternally replicating spike protein that has been introduced through biological warfare into your bloodstream. And I think that this is not a completely unfounded concern, but I think it's a bit of an overwrought concern. There are plenty of people who are walking around healthy, and yours truly is case in point, who've taken the COVID shots and, are not suffering from long-term consequences, nor, knock wood, are we likely to develop turbo cancer or cognitive decline or chronic fatigue syndrome or, any number of supposed maladies that have occurred because the COVID shot backfired and turned us into, it's like kind of like the zombie apocalypse.
Oh my goodness.
There's actually the movie, the movie, what was that movie with, anyway, there's, it'll come back to me, but the pretext for some of these zombie movies is that they vaccinate people, and this is well before COVID, with a well-meaning shot, and then it goes haywire and it turns people into flesh-eating zombies that viciously attack everyone, and it's the end of civilization. I mean,
oh my goodness.
That was, So this is actually kind of a movie trope. I'm not saying that there aren't people who are long-term sick after the vaccine, all too many of them. And I just think it's one of the least well thought out and safe vaccine launches. It was launched in a panic and without appropriate safeguards, and there were unforeseen consequences. That much I can say. Is it a universal affliction that we're all walking around with spike protein that we need to neutralize with like holistic remedies? Does nattokinase even fit the bill? But nattokinase is a good thing. There's cardiovascular benefits to nattokinase.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's even been shown to somewhat reduce cholesterol. It is
it's good for long COVID, apparently.
Yes, and well, again, I got to say this. I'm looking for more definitive studies. Anecdotally, it's high on the list of things that people take that say that it helps their long COVID.
Yeah.
But long COVID sometimes goes away. You know, sometimes it's a self-limiting thing, and people say, well, I took nattokinase, and man, this like knocked the tar out of my long COVID.
Or it could be that your body was already done with long COVID.
Yeah.
But how would we know with any certainty?
It's plausible because the nattokinase addresses microclots. And part of the pathology of COVID, as well as vaccine injury, is that there may be pervasive microclots that cause circulatory problems and hence symptoms and fatigue in the brain and in the muscles and in the heart, potentially.
Some people referring to them as the clot shots.
The clot shots, right. Okay. So, and nattokinase is a bit of a clot buster.
Yeah.
So hence, there's plausibility to it. Okay.
Yeah. The systemic enzymes are great.
I would refer you to the work of Dr. Jacob Teitelbaum, who has some great COVID protocols. And those protocols apply as well to people who have vaccine reactions because, in effect, the vaccine mimics a COVID infection in a attenuated way so that infect your body, sees COVID, forms a reaction to COVID, and it's possible that the same mechanism applies to long COVID as well as to vaccine reactions. So Dr. Teitelbaum has put together some protocols for people with long COVID, and I think that they might be useful. The next time I have him on, I'll talk about it. Because he's a frequent contributor to Intelligent Medicine.
Yeah. Charlie, thank you for your very thoughtful question. Wow. All right. Oh, we've got a question here from Danny regarding your protocols. You've got you suggest vitamin K for bones. You also suggest vitamin K for the heart. Are they the same? Same vitamin K? Yeah, we're talking about K2.
Right.
We're talking about K2.
And specifically MK7, right? Most of the research is done a subtype of K2. And once again, for clarification, because you do a beautiful job with this, and I actually sometimes, my eyes glaze over when I read about the distinction. Okay, so let's take it from the start. There's vitamin K as an overall category. Then there are two types of vitamin K, K1 and K2. Yes. And then there's within K2, and they have different properties and different benefits. Yeah. And they obtain from different food sources.
Yes.
And then within the K2 category, there are subcategories. Okay, help me out with that.
There, what MK2? There's K2. There's K4. Some people tout the benefits of K4, which I believe has a shorter half-life. Or something.
Okay, so there's a third type of vitamin K, K4.
K2 is menaquinone. K1 is phylloquinone. Phylloquinone, which we get primarily from dark green leafy vegetables. K2 we get primarily from meat and from some dairy like cheese.
And some fermented foods like natto.
Yes, like natto, exactly. Exactly. So this is really the matrix of K that we're talking about.
Okay.
But it's K2 primarily that is showing the most benefit for bones as well as for heart.
Right.
Vitamin K driving calcium back to the bones, away from coronary arteries, for example.
Right. Yeah. And where we know of K as the clotting vitamin, but it doesn't make you have blood clots. It merely prevents you from exsanguinating. If you don't have enough, you will actually have bleeding under the skin, like easy bruisability, gums bleeding.
Right.
You'll have bloodshot eyes when you sneeze, that kind of thing. Easy easy bleeding. When you take even a lot of vitamin K, you're not going to get a blood clot unless you're highly prone to blood clots where you're on a blood thinner like Coumadin.
Yes.
And Coumadin's effects are neutralized by vitamin K. But the other medications, and you know about some of these atrial fibrillation medications that are non-Coumadin medications, they're not adversely affected by dietary vitamin K. Okay,
Right.
so there's a lot to know about. And by the way, little babies get vitamin K shots.
Yes.
Because
when they're born, right?
Yeah, when they're born, is to prevent rare instances of hemorrhage, bleeding at birth. Okay, so so what should I take? Vitamin K2? If it says vitamin K2 on the bottle, or should I take MK7? Is that like
MK7? MK7 is vitamin K2.
It is a type of vitamin K2.
Yeah, exactly.
But if a product just lists vitamin K2, is that less potent or efficacious? And
No.
K,
K2 should be just fine.
K2. But you're saying both is fine.
No. MK7 is typically covering K2 with some amount of K1. K1 being, I don't like to say less important, but K2 is the real deal.
Okay. So
more than anything.
My impression is they seem to work on calcitriol, which is a pathway that tells calcium to stay out of the bones. I mean, to stay out of the artery wall.
Stay out of the arteries, go back to the bones.
And to go back to the bones. It's a regulatory
that's
hormone, calcitriol. Am I on target with that? Yeah, I think
so. Yeah. Calcitriol. Yeah.
Correct.
Very
you
important.
You say tomato, I say tomato. Okay.
Right. Danny has another question about the protocols.
Okay.
You list like methyl action for brain health and methyl guard for heart health. Are there differences? And I think the main difference, Dr. Hoffman, for heart health, the methyl guard is primarily targeting homocysteine levels with maybe higher amounts of vitamin B6, B12, trimethylglycine.
Right. I would actually think that they are virtually interchangeable.
Yeah.
Because there's no 100% recipe for methylation.
Yes.
Some people may have higher requirements, some people lower requirements of the methylating nutrients, which are B6, B12, folate, to some extent riboflavin, B2, also trimethylglycine, or sometimes called betaine.
Yeah.
Betaine, because it's extracted from beets. And these are the things that actually support methylation, lower homocysteine. Homocysteine is thought to be bad both for the heart, but actually, I think it's primarily a risk factor for cerebrovascular disease and brain health. And some people need more brain methylation. So, for example, I put it high on the list for people who are suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's disease. I think that would... And
people who test positive for the MTHFR SNP, polymorphism, which is very, very common, as a matter of fact. There is a small subset, and I wrote about it last...
I think it's a little overblown. Why? Because almost a very high percentage of the people have what is called a heterozygous, like one hit on this 1298 or 677 pathway. It's very in vogue in integrative medicine now to test people for methylation, and very high yield of people who have a little bit of a problem on one or the other. Sometimes you get like double hit. That's bad. You're homozygous and you maybe hits on both. Those are people who have problems sometimes.
They do. And they do better with the methylated.
I'm heterozygous. I'm not too worried for 677. I'm not too worried about it. I'm taking a multivitamin, but I'm not taking like a very high test methylation supplement. And my homocysteine is routinely under 10, 6 or 7.
That's terrific.
Not a biggie.
Under 10 is great. Under 8 is even better, right? That's really the target that we're going for. The other thing is there is a subset of people, which I wrote about previously in a newsletter article, that don't do well with the methylated versions.
Right.
Even with the MTHFR hit, right? Whether heterozygous or homozygous, they don't do well. They'll report some anxiety or irritability or being short-tempered, quick to anger, something like that. And it's perfectly fine to go back to the standard B complex vitamins, that unmethylated versions that you were taking before, because it can still help to lower homocysteine. And I actually remember Neil Levin telling us this many years ago.
They have a SNP or variant, a gene variant in the catecholamine pathway, such that they're
COMT.
kind of a COMT. Thank you. Good. That's why you're going to get that Nobel Prize eventually. It's like that's molecular biology 101. Well, that's like genetics number 101.
Genetics,
okay,
right.
COMT has to do with formation of dopamine and catecholamines.
Yeah.
And some people are what I would call a cheap date for B vitamins. They're very sensitive to B vitamins. They get like kind of a hyper reaction from B vitamins. I don't really, when I hear about it, but I can't really, I have sympathy, but not empathy for them. I've not experienced that, but it's a real thing. And we see that sometimes with parents of autistic children who want to improve the methylation in the brain of the autistic children, because there's one theory of why things go awry in the brain. You want to kind of fuel up the brain and optimize brain function, so give more B vitamins. And the kids start to act out. They start to become, more agitated. They're sensitive to it.
They're not doing well.
And then it turns out that they have one of the COMT variants. It's, I think genetics is interesting, but there's so much we need to know. And
there's
it's
just so much
complicated.
to look at. It's very, very complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when the MTHFR polymorphism was first discovered or looked at, and it's like that was the end all and be all. But what about the rest of it?
Yeah.
What about the other pathways that have everything to do with, and so forth? And then I found in my practice that the subset of people who didn't do well with the methylated B vitamins were more. The incidence was higher. But then, many more years now of seeing people with MTHFR and the people that do well versus the people that don't do well. People that don't do well is more of a minority, but that minority's gotten larger.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I find it interesting.
Yeah. It's humbling. It's humbling.
It is, certainly.
Yep.
Again, at the end of the day, we always have more questions than answers.
Right. Well, it's an exciting field. It's an emerging field. And, perhaps with the advent of AI, because the human brain can't put together all these different permutations. And, perhaps there's some way that we can put people's genetic profiles through a very, very sophisticated AI program, which is not yet ready for prime time, that we will actually be able to make predictions about which nutrients are, more individualized for different patients.
Yes.
And, but
that's truly personalized nutrition. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not quite ready for prime time. Great. All right. Good discussion. Great. When we return, give us a preview of what we're going to tackle in part 2.
Oh, Esther says, after reading this article and lots of other research, I have to say I'm extremely dubious about fish oil.
Oh, okay. We'll have to.
This is out of Cleveland Clinic.
Oh, if the Cleveland Clinic says it must be true, right? Okay. Yeah. Very authoritative. When we return, we're going to tackle that question. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and today with Leyla Mutin, because it's our weekly Q&A with Leyla. Remember, you can send questions to questions@drhoffman.net. And it's vacation time. So time to, maybe sit down, take inventory before the fall about what some of your health priorities are. We're here to help. Questions@drhoffman.net. We'll be right back.